NASCAR's first consecutive three-time champion, Cale Yarborough. Cale Yarborough was a former NASCAR Cup Series and IROC driver who competed from 1957 through 1988. Yarborough racked up plenty of accolades throughout his over 30-year career, including 4 Daytona 500 wins and 5 Southern 500 victories. A winner, a champion, and a NASCAR legend. Yarborough competed for several notable owners throughout his racing career, such as Holman-Moody, Wood Brothers Racing, Bud Moore, Hoss Ellington, Jimmie Johnson, MC Anderson, and Rainier-Lundy. After going and watching the races at Darlington in the early 1950s, by 1957, Yarborough made his first 3 NASCAR Grand National, now NASCAR Cup Series starts, in Bob Weatherly's number 30 Ford, 2 at Darlington and 1 at Charlotte. Their best finish was 14th at Charlotte in 1960. Returning once again in 1961 to Darlington to make a one-off start in the Southern 500, behind the wheel of a number 52 Ford owned by Julian Busnick, starting 19th and finishing 30th after their engine let go around lap 135. Staying with the Busnick's team for the first 4 starts the Yarborough would make in 1962, before making 3 starts for Don Harrison's number 92 Ford, and a one-off start in Wildcat Williams' number 9 Ford. In 8 Cup Series starts, Yarborough's best start was 3rd at Augusta in the fall, and his best finish was 10th in his qualifying race at Daytona in the spring. Temporarily returning to Busnick's number 52, attempting but missing the Daytona 500 in 1963, then running the Rebel 300 at Darlington, race 24 on the 1963 schedule for the number 52 team. Cale's best start was 21st at Daytona in the spring, and his best finish was 11th at Darlington in the spring. Next, Yarborough made a pair of one-off starts for Toy Bolton and Louis Osborne. Cale's best start was 35th for Osborne at Daytona in the summer. His best finish was 23rd at Charlotte in the World 600 for Bolton. For the remainder of the season, Yarborough became the driver of Herman Beam's number 19 Ford, making select starts for the remainder of the season, making 14 starts throughout the remaining races. Cale's best start was 6th twice at Myrtle Beach in the summer and Moyock in the fall, and his best finish was 8th at Salem in the fall. Also running the first 19 events of the 1964 NASCAR Cup Series season for Beam, while driving that number 19 Ford. Yarborough's best start was 3rd twice at Greenville-Pickens Speedway in the late spring and Concord in the early fall. His best finish was 5th twice at Savannah and Asheville in the spring. Near the conclusion of the season, Cale began driving for Holman-Moody. His best start was 5th at Weaverville in the fall. His best finish was 6th at North Wilkesboro in the fall. He made a one-off start apiece for Tom Spell at Hillsboro in the fall, starting 20th and finishing 22nd, and Ray Osborne in Atlanta in the spring, starting 37th and finishing 34th. For the first time in 1965, Yarborough ran the vast majority of the Cup Series schedule, making 46 starts out of the 55-race schedule for 7 different race teams. 6 for Gary Weaver's number 10 Ford. His best start in that number 10 was 5th, and his best finish was 3rd, both coming at Asheville, Weaverville, Pickens Speedway in the spring. Overall, in 6 starts, Yarborough scored 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s, making a one-off apiece in Tom Spell's number 08 Ford at Hillsboro, starting and finishing 21st. The following race, he made another one-off start in Atlanta in the spring, starting 44th and finishing 19th, behind the wheel of Lester Hunter's number 35 Dodge. Then Cale made 11 starts behind the wheel of Sam Fogel's number 31 Ford, with the best start of 6th at Harris Speedway in the late spring. Cale's best finish while driving the number 31 was 6th at Atlanta in the late spring. Another one-off start came at Cleveland County Fairgrounds in the late spring, behind the wheel of Herman Beam's number 78 Ford, starting 19th and finishing 20th, after an oil pressure issue ended his day early on lap 12. Yarborough made 8 starts for Banjo Matthews, 1 in a number 7, and 7 in a number 27 Ford. Cale's best start was second for Matthews at Charlotte in the fall. His best finish was second twice at North Wilkesboro and Rockingham in the fall. Yarborough made his remaining starts of the 1965 season for Kenny Myler. 1 start behind the wheel of his number 96 Ford and 17 starts behind the wheel of Myler's number 06 Ford. Yarborough's best start was 4th at Myrtle Beach in the summer, and his best finish was 1st at Valdosta 75 Speedway in the summer. This was Cale's first career NASCAR Cup Series victory. Overall, in 46 starts, Yarborough scored 1 win, 13 top 5s, and 21 top 10s, finishing 10th in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. This was also the first time in his career that he finished in the top 10 in final Cup Series point standings. The 1966 NASCAR Cup Series season would see Yarborough make 14 starts throughout the season for 5 different race teams, running the first race of the season at Augusta behind the wheel of Kenny Myler's number 06 Ford, starting and finishing 9th. The next 6 starts that he made came while driving Banjo Matthews' number 27 Ford. Cale's best start was 8th twice at Rockingham and Bristol in the spring. His best finish was 2nd twice at Daytona and Rockingham in the spring. Overall, in 6 starts, Yarborough scored 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s. Next up, Yarborough made a one-off start apiece for Bill Seifert's number 45 and Reed Shaw's number 0 Ford. For Seifert at Hickory, starting 22nd and finishing 19th. For Shaw at Bowman Gray Stadium, starting 16th and finishing 6th. Yarborough's final 5 starts of the 66 season were made behind the wheel of the Wood Brothers Racing number 21 Ford. Cale's best start was 6th twice at North Wilkesboro and Charlotte in the fall. His best finish was 4th at Rockingham in the fall. Overall, in 14 starts, Yarborough scored 3 top 5s and 7 top 10s, finishing 18th in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. Starting in 1966, Yarborough started running the Indianapolis 500 each year. In 1966, he ran for Jim Robbins' Ford. Running a Volstead chassis, he started 24th and finished 28th. In 1967, Yarborough would run the Indy 500 again, this time in the Volstead Enterprises Ford, starting 20th and finishing 17th. From 1967 through 1970, Cale Yarborough became the driver of the Wood Brothers Racing number 21 60-minute cleaners Ford. Running select schedules each season, Yarborough made 76 starts for the number 21 Ford team throughout the 4-season stretch. They didn't show up at the racetrack every week, but when Yarborough and the number 21 team did, they were competitive, finding victory lane all 4 seasons that they were together. Yarborough's best start was 1st, 18 times, at Atlanta in the spring, both Charlotte races, and Martinsville in the fall 1967. Daytona in the spring, then Beltsville, Martinsville, and Rockingham in the fall of 1968. Both Darlington races, Daytona, Bristol, and Atlanta in the summer, then Charlotte in the fall of 1969. 3 races at Daytona, if you remember, the qualifying races used to count as points races as well. Atlanta in the spring, and Bristol in the summer of 1970. His best finish was 1st 13 times, at Atlanta in the spring and Daytona in the summer of 1967. Both Daytona races, including the 1968 Daytona 500, Atlanta and Martinsville in the spring, then Darlington and Jefferson in the fall of 1969. The Daytona qualifying race in the spring, Michigan in the early summer, then Rockingham in the fall of 1970. Overall, in 76 starts, Cale scored 18 poles, 13 wins, 37 top 5s, and 42 top 10s, with the best points finish at 17th in 1968. At the conclusion of the 1970 season, Yarborough and Wood Brothers Racing parted ways. In 1967, Cale also made a one-off start for Neil Castles at North Wilkesboro Speedway, as well as making 2 starts for Bud Moore at Weaverville and Macon in 1967, making another start in 68. For the 1971 and 72 seasons, Yarborough found himself making occasional starts for Ray Fox and Hoss Ellington, making 3 starts in Fox's number 3 Plymouth in 71. His best start was 7th in Atlanta in the spring, and his best finish was 7th in his Daytona qualifying race in the spring. At Charlotte in the fall, Cale made a one-off start behind the wheel of James Mason's number 87 Mercury, starting 35th and finishing 28th, following overheating issues around lap 209. 1972 marked a big change for the NASCAR Cup Series when R.J. Reynolds became the title sponsor of the Cup Series, forming the Winston Cup Series. NASCAR cut any tracks that were dirt from the schedule and any tracks that were under a half-mile in length, cutting the schedule from around 50 races a season down to around 30 races a season. The drastic cutting of the schedule gave birth to the Grand National East Series, a series made up of tracks that had been cast off of the Cup Series schedule following the 1971 season. Cale made 8 starts between 1972 and 73 seasons. His best documented start was 3rd at Cumberland International Speedway in 1973 in the late summer. His best finish was 2nd, twice at Hickory and twice at Fayetteville. Overall, in 8 Grand National East Series starts, Cale scored 4 top 5s and 7 top 10s. Yarborough ran the 72 Daytona 500 behind the wheel of Ray Fox's number 3 Plymouth, starting 16th and finishing 6th. At Michigan in August, Cale made a one-off start behind the wheel of James Hilton's number 98 Pop-Cola Mercury, starting 20th and finishing 5th. The final 3 starts of the 72 season, Yarborough made driving Hoss Ellington's number 28 Chevrolet. His best start was 6th twice at Charlotte and Rockingham in the fall, and his best finish was 6th at Rockingham in the fall. Between the 1971 and 72 seasons, Yarborough made 9 starts in the Cup Series, scoring 1 top 5 and 5 top 10s. In 1971, Yarborough would run the USAC Championship Car Series, now the IndyCar Series, for the Gene White Company, qualifying for 10 out of a possible 12 races on the schedule. Cale's best finish was 5th twice at Trenton and Michigan. Overall, in 10 starts, Yarborough scored 2 top 5s and 5 top 10s, finishing 16th in final USAC point standings. He ran his final Indy 500 in 1972, starting 32nd and finishing 10th. For the first time during Yarborough's NASCAR Cup Series career, he started running the full schedule in 1973, behind the wheel of Richard Howard's number 11 Car Care Chevrolet. Herb Nabb served as Yarborough's crew chief in 73. This team was fast right out of the gate, and why shouldn't they have been? The season prior, with Bobby Allison behind the wheel, the team won 10 races and finished 2nd in the final point standings. Yarborough's best start was 1st 5 times at both Bristol and Nashville Fairgrounds races, then Martinsville in the fall. His best finish was 1st 4 times at Bristol and Nashville in the spring, then Darlington and Charlotte in the fall. In his win at Bristol, he led all 500 laps during the event and lapped the field twice. This was the first time in NASCAR history a driver led every single lap during a race. Overall, in 28 starts, Yarborough scored 5 poles, 4 wins, 16 top 5s, and 19 top 10s, finishing 2nd in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. Junior Johnson became head mechanic and team manager for Richard Howard's race team following in the 1971 season, after Johnson scaled back operations of his own race team. Of course, Yarborough returned for the 1974 season. Midway through the season, Johnson bought back the team from Howard, establishing the legendary Junior Johnson and Associates race team. This time, an even stronger season for Yarborough, and again, behind the wheel of number 11 Car Care Carling Chevrolet, full-time. Cale's best start was 1st 3 times at Rockingham and Martinsville in the spring, then Atlanta in the summer. His best finish was 1st 10 times at both Bristol and Riverside races, Atlanta, Martinsville, and Dover in the spring, Nashville Fairgrounds in the summer, then Darlington and North Wilkesboro in the fall. Overall, in 30 starts, Yarborough scored 3 poles, 10 wins, 21 top 5s, and 22 top 10s, finishing 2nd in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. Even coming off of an excellent season in 1974, Team owner Jimmie Johnson's beer company, the team's sponsor Carling, left the team at the conclusion of the 74 season. In a time where teams more often than not would follow the money, meaning that they would prioritize higher paying races and run them in an attempt to ensure profitability. In 1975, because Johnson had to piece together sponsorship until race 8 in Darlington, when Holly Farms began sponsoring the number 11 team every race, the team missed a few starts in the beginning of the season, making 27 starts throughout a 30-race scheduled season. Yarborough's best start was first 3 times at Michigan in June, then Martinsville and Bristol in the fall. His best finish was first 3 times at both Rockingham races, then Nashville Fairgrounds in the summer. Overall, in 27 starts, Yarborough scored 3 poles, 3 wins, 13 top 5s, and 13 top 10s, finishing 9th in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. This was the first season that Cale ran the IROC Series. His best finish was 2nd at Michigan in September. Overall, in 4 starts, Cale scored 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s, finishing 3rd in final IROC point standings. Cale Yarborough went on an unprecedented run over the next 3 seasons, from 1976 through 1978, becoming the first driver to ever complete this feat, winning 3 Cup Series championships in a row. Behind the wheel of a number 11 Holly Farms Chevrolet for 1976 and 77, then a number 11 First National Travelers Czechs Oldsmobile in 1978, with Tim Brewer taking over as the number 11 team's crew chief for the 1978 season. Nonetheless, Yarborough and Johnson's number 11 team was absolutely dominant during this stretch. Yarborough's best start was first 13 times at Pocono in the summer and Dover in the fall of 1976, at both Bristol races and Riverside in the spring of 1977, at both Daytona, Atlanta, and Talladega races, then Rockingham and Ontario in the fall of 1978. His best finish was first 28 times, both Bristol and North Wilkesboro races, Nashville Fairgrounds in the spring, Daytona in the summer, then Richmond, Dover, and Martinsville in the fall of 1976. Both Bristol and Martinsville races, Daytona, Richmond, North Wilkesboro, and Dover in the spring, then Michigan in June of 1977, both Nashville races, Riverside and Talladega in the spring, Michigan in June, Bristol in the late summer, then Darlington, Martinsville, North Wilkesboro, and Rockingham in the fall of 1978. Overall, 90 starts, Yarborough scored 13 poles, 28 victories, 70 top 5s, and 74 top 10s, winning the NASCAR Cup Series championship 3 seasons in a row, all 3 seasons. 1976, 1977, and 1978. Yarborough also ran the IROC Series in 1977 and 1978, making 8 starts altogether. His best finish was first 3 times at Daytona in the spring and Riverside in the fall of 1977, then Riverside in the fall of 1978. Overall, in 8 IROC Series starts, Cale scored 3 wins, 5 top 5s, and 8 top 10s, with the best points finish 2nd in 1977. The 1979 NASCAR Cup Series season was another solid one for Yarborough and the number 11 Busch Beer Oldsmobile Jimmie Johnson race team. The 79 Daytona 500 was in fact the first live flag-to-flag NASCAR race televised on national television. Donnie Allison led a race-high 93 laps. Allison took the white flag, signifying the final lap of the race. Yarborough was close behind him. On the backstretch, Yarborough attempted to slingshot past Allison. Allison tried to block. The 2 cars got together 2 or 3 times before their race cars locked together, crashing the 2 drivers into the turn 3 outside wall. The cars slid down the embankment and came to rest. Donnie and Cale began to argue once they climbed out of their wrecked race cars. Donnie's brother Bobby, who was a lap down at the time and not in contention for the victory, stopped to offer his brother Donnie a ride back to the garage area. Yarborough blamed Bobby for his defeat and hit him in the head with his helmet, while Bobby was still in his race car. Bobby climbed out and punched Yarborough in the mouth. Yarborough, the little stick of dynamite that he was, knocked Bobby to the ground and hit him in the back twice with his helmet. Donnie grabbed Cale and yelled at him, "Hey, you trying to fight? I'm the cat you should be fighting with." Yarborough didn't give up, though in all fairness, he was a bit outsized and outnumbered by the Allison brothers. All three drivers were put on probation for 3 months. Though with most of the Midwest and the Northeast buried in snow, this meant that a whole new demographic was able to watch NASCAR for the first time. This was the beginning of the sports boom over the next 25 or so years, spending literally the entire 1979 season inside the top 5 in point standings. Yarborough's best start was first at Ontario in the fall. His best finish was first 4 times at Richmond and Nashville Fairgrounds in the spring. His best finish was first 4 times at Richmond and Nashville Fairgrounds in the spring, Pocono in the summer, and then Charlotte in the fall. Overall, in 31 starts, Cale scored 1 pole, 4 wins, 19 top 5s, and 22 top 10s, finishing 4th in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. In the IROC Series, Yarborough only ran 3 out of the 5 races on the schedule. His best finish was second twice at Michigan in June and Riverside in October. Overall, in 3 IROC Series starts, Cale scored 3 top 5s and 3 top 10s, finishing 3rd in final IROC Series point standings. As the sport entered into a brand new decade, the 1980s, in 1980, Cale Yarborough told a select amount of people that this season would be his final full-time season. For one more season behind the wheel of that number 11 Busch Beer Chevrolets and Oldsmobiles. Yarborough got off to a bit of a slow start, points-wise, but by race 7 in Darlington, he had already cracked the top 5, and he cracked the top 3 by race 10 in Talladega, remaining there for the rest of the 1980 season. Cale was incredible on qualifying day, winning a record 14 poles throughout the season, a record that still stands to this day. Yarborough's best start was first 14 times at both Bristol, Dover, and Nashville races, Charlotte in the spring, Texas World Speedway, Riverside, Daytona, and Pocono in the summer, Richmond, North Wilkesboro, and Ontario in the fall. His best finish was first 6 times at both Rockingham races, Texas World Speedway in the early summer, Michigan and Bristol in the late summer, then Atlanta in the fall. Overall, in 31 starts, Yarborough scored 14 poles, 6 wins, 19 top 5s, and 22 top 10s, finishing 2nd in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. In the IROC Series, Cale only made 1 out of 5 starts during the IROC season in 1980, at Michigan in June, finishing 5th. After all the success and championships together, Johnson and Yarborough parted ways at the conclusion of the 1980 season, because Yarborough did not want to run the full schedule any longer. Johnson and his team did, so they signed a young Darrell Waltrip to take over the number 11 from Yarborough. Not yet ready to retire, just not trying to run the full schedule, Yarborough thought he had found a good home at MC Anderson Racing's number 27 Valvoline Buick, running a select schedule in 1981 and 1982. David If began the 1981 season as Yarborough's crew chief, but by race 29 in Rockingham, Pete Peterson took over the position. 1981 was not a bad season at all, especially for a team not running the full schedule. Cale's best start was first, twice, at Rockingham in the spring, and Daytona in the summer. His best finish was first also twice, at Atlanta in the spring, and Daytona in the summer. Overall, in 18 starts, Yarborough scored 2 poles, 2 wins, 6 top 5s, and 10 top 10s, finishing 24th in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. MC Anderson purchased the majority of Junior Johnson's race team ahead of the 1982 season, and nearly doubled their pay. Tim Brewer became Yarborough's crew chief once again, and the number 27 Valvoline Buick had another strong season, running a select schedule. Yarborough's best start was first, twice, at Pocono in July and Rockingham in the fall. His best finish was first 3 times, at Rockingham in the spring, Michigan in June, and Darlington in the fall. Overall, in 16 starts, Cale scored 2 poles, 3 wins, 8 top 5s, and 8 top 10s, finishing 27th in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. After 2 successful seasons, Anderson wanted to run the full schedule in 1983, but Yarborough was not willing to go back to running a full schedule. So Anderson decided to shut down his race team prior to the 1983 season, selling off his equipment and assets of the race team to drag racer Raymond Beadle. Yarborough parted ways with the race team following the 1982 season, joining Harry Rainier's number 28 Hardy Chevrolet race team from 1983 through 1986, making 16 starts all 4 seasons that they spent together, for a total of 64 starts. Waldo Wilson served as Yarborough's crew chief the entire time that he drove that number 28 machine. Cale's best start was first 8 times at both Talladega races and Daytona in the summer of 1983, both Daytona and Talladega races in 1984, and Daytona in the summer of 1986. His best finish was first 9 times at both Michigan races, then Daytona and Atlanta in the spring of 1983, winning that 1983 Daytona 500 using a show car from a Hardee's down the road after destroying their primary car in qualifying. The car was actually a Pontiac Le Mans, not a Chevrolet, like the team had originally brought. Overnight, the team made a slew of adaptations. Cale ended up running well in his qualifying race and went on to win the 1983 Daytona 500 in a show car. That's an incredible account. Daytona and Talladega in the spring, then Pocono in June of 1984, Talladega in the summer, and Charlotte in the fall of 1985. Overall, in 64 starts, Yarborough scored 8 poles, 9 wins, 22 top 5s, and 30 top 10s, with the best points finish of 22nd in 1984. At the conclusion of the 1986 season, Rainier and Yarborough parted ways. In 1984 and 1985, Cale made 7 IROC Series starts. His best finish was first at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland. In 7 IROC Series starts, he scored 1 win, 4 top 5s, and 5 top 10s, winning the 1984 IROC Series title. 1986 was the final season that Yarborough ran the IROC Series. His best finish was first at Talladega in July. Overall, 4 starts, Cale scored 1 win, 2 top 5s, and 4 top 10s, finishing 3rd in final IROC Series point standings. Yarborough just purchased his own equipment and ran those final 2 seasons as an owner-driver, behind the wheel of his self-owned number 29 Hardee's Oldsmobile, making 16 starts in 1987. Jake Elder began the season as Cale's crew chief, but as Elder had become accustomed with doing, he would leave the team after only 4 races. Cliff Champion would take over as crew chief for the number 29 team for the remainder of the 87 season. Yarborough's best start was 3rd at Atlanta in the spring, and his best finish was 4th at Pocono in June. Overall, in 16 starts, Yarborough scored 2 top 5s and 4 top 10s, finishing 29th in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. 1988 was Cale Yarborough's final season as an active driver, splitting the season with future NASCAR Cup Series champion Dale Jarrett. Cale made his final 10 starts of his illustrious career in 1988, behind the wheel of his self-owned number 29 Hardee's Oldsmobile. Elmo Langley served as Cale's crew chief in 1988. Yarborough's best start was 16th at Talladega in the summer, and his best finish was 9th twice at Michigan in June and Talladega in the summer. Overall, in 10 starts, Yarborough scored 3 top 10s, finishing 38th in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. After retiring from the driver's seat, Yarborough owned a NASCAR Cup Series race team through the 1999 season. In 1998, Yarborough was named one of NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers. In 2023, he was named as one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers. Cale was inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame by way of the class of 2012. As Yarborough proved time and again that he was one of the very best at driving a stock car. The fact that he is tied for 6th with Jimmie Johnson on the all-time winners list is just one of the reasons Yarborough was so deserving of these titles as one of the greatest drivers and his Hall of Fame induction. On December 31st, 2023, three-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Cale Yarborough passed away of natural causes. So, in 560 NASCAR Cup Series starts, Yarborough scored 69 poles, 83 wins, 255 top 5s, and 319 top 10s, winning 3 NASCAR Cup Series championships in a row from 1976 through 1978. In 8 Grand National East Series starts, Cale scored 4 top 5s and 7 top 10s. In 13 USAC Champ Car starts, Yarborough scored 2 top 5s and 6 top 10s. In 27 IROC Series starts, Cale scored 5 wins, 17 top 5s, and 25 top 10s, winning the 1984 IROC Series Championship. Thanks for watching, everyone, and take care.